I once I was coming out of a Boots the chemist in Dorset, and all of a sudden this shower of sparkling energy. It was like a waterfall of sparkling energy
Not
just
feeling very
flooding
well,
down,
are you?
and I started bursting into tears because the love in that thing was so. But this was in the high street, man.
Yeah.
And so
outside Boots, yeah.
In Dorset.
and so what I tried to do was I tried to pull myself together,
Right.
and this voice said, "Just let it go."
What's he going to
And
do with
it
you,
became so
pussycat?
powerful that I was just about to go down on my knees in the middle of the street because the love that was coming from this was so intense.
Welcome back to Everything from Nothing, Ireland's most effervescent podcast, available on YouTube and Spotify. If you really like the podcast and would like to support us, the price of a loaf of milk or a carton of bread, you can do so at patreon.com/Ireland's podcast. We upload no guest episodes and more there. So just going to introduce today's guest. Today's wonderful guest has lived on the Hill of Tara for the past 7 years. With his birthday falling on the Celtic New Year, this lovely soul was destined to bring colour to Ireland. He began creating art in 1974 and since then has put out over 50 books the world over, to now where he humbly welcomes people to his breathtaking abode that is Tara Open Studios. Bringing us gifts from the other world quicker than Amazon Prime, it's the friendly, endearing and tranquil Courtney Davis. How are things, Courtney?
Sorry?
How are you keeping? How are things? Is it lagging?
All is good. All is good on Tara. Yeah, we're in good form. Yeah. The candles are lit. Everything's, we're
Nice.
rolling.
Nice, you're just saying it's windy up there, is it? Fierce windy up.
Sorry, my sound isn't very loud.
Oh, is it?
But, no. Yeah, anyway, go on.
Yeah, can you hear now? Is that better?
Yeah.
So you're just saying it's windy up in the Hill of Tara. It's been mad windy here the last week or that. The weather must be like twice as bad on the Hill of Tara when it is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, everything's shifting and moving outside.
Yeah.
But it's good, you know? It's good.
Hey, Courtney, what brought you to the Hill of Tara?
Well, I came here for a visit, and I went into the coffee shop, and the guy in the coffee shop who owns the coffee shop recognised me, and he dragged me down to this empty barn, and asked if I'd like to do an exhibition for 2 months, and that was 7 years ago, and I've been here.
Is the exhibition still ongoing? Yeah.
In the fact that I've got all my paintings here and stuff, but it's kind of evolved into a kind of spiritual centre and stuff. We have all kind of meditations upstairs, and and there's a shop as well. So
Do you think art is spiritual? Yeah. Is art spiritual to you? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're tuning into the divine, you know, to be creative. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been involved with an energy of Merlin since 1984, and together we created these 50 books. So
could you talk about the Merlin thing for a bit, like that? So Merlin is like obviously the British famous legend, and like what was the significance with Merlin in your life?
Although I call it Merlin, it's more of a kind of universal kind of energy. I don't know if you know. Have you heard of Amma?
No.
The she's an Indian saint that comes to Ireland once a year, or she obviously hasn't been here recently.
Yeah.
But she does all
she
this
gives ashes and stuff.
Yeah, she hugs people
and
stuff like. But she hugs like thousands of people in a day. And one day I was when I was in the UK to visit her, I saw all these images that she was putting up on a screen behind, and I realised that they were kind of like what I would call Merlin images, symbols and stuff like that. And so my whole kind of attitude to change then.
Yeah, and so like I was reading like so like a lot of your paintings were inspired. I was reading that like you had I had something written down here that I read on your website, which is by 2010 I had completed a few workshops in various parts of the UK. Then Merlin disappeared from my life. I had to cancel scheduled events for the first time since 1977. The painting stopped. My life went into meltdown. So is that like Merlin was like sort of the channeled energy that you were using when, for those 37 years? Am I correct?
I went through like an apprenticeship with the energy for about 3 years, where the energy was teaching me how to paint. The thing was that before that, this energy, my paintings would take about two weeks maybe, or a week to. But once I started working with the energy, for a lot of the years, I had to do a painting a day because I was churning out like 3 books a year at one stage, and some of those books were 128 pages of pictures of painting. So
how did your artwork start? Because it sounds like it was a bit of a slow start for you, kind of like finding your own feet and your own pace with it.
Yeah. Well, I had this experience. I've got I'm registered disabled. I've got a scoliosis, and my spine's all twisted. Yeah. And I went into hospital for an operation, and a couple of days after the operation, I went through another operation, but it was like a psychic operation.
Yeah, like psychic surgery.
At the end of at the end of this, I saw 8 monks standing at the end of my bed, but they were obviously 8 Merlins and 8 aspects of Merlin. Yeah. And so I decided I wanted to give something back, because obviously I realised something important had happened to me, and so I spent a few years doing working with the Spiritualist Association in UK. I became a Buddhist monk. I got ordained as a Buddhist monk for a time, and then my father died, and I needed to look after my mum, and so I decided that just to start drawing. I haven't done drawing for years, but I just started doing some drawings, and then a company that I worked for saw one of the pictures, and they had a magazine, and so they used the picture on the magazine, and it all kind of started from there, really.
It's like obviously, like you said, it's been a big part of your life, but like spirituality and art, and like obviously like they're intertwined and stuff. Like, what was it? Were you like connected as a kid, like, or was there a certain age or a moment where, or was it more gradual thing? Like, it's more so. Sorry, that's okay. Sidetrack. Like,
I mean, before the operation happened, I was in the jewelry trade. I was a jewelry designer, and I worked with diamonds, and I would use a diamond to cut into gold and platinum and do all kinds of designs and stuff. And so it was all about money. And then, but after this operation, I gave everything away, and I say I moved into this Buddhist temple for it was about 1.5 years.
Whereabouts was the Buddhist temple? Which Buddhist temple was it?
It was actually in London, a place in London. It was connected with a karate thing as well. So I used to go around different places in London teaching karate and Buddhism and stuff.
Yeah. Is it the temple in North London?
It's not there anymore. It's gone.
All right. That's really mad. I was gonna say, like, yeah, we actually we were up in your studio last summer. We were up there. We took a trip up to your studio, and do you remember you actually gave us a sunflower plant, and we planted it out the back, and it actually grew perfectly. It's out the back there now, and like it'll sprout again next year. But like it was amazing. It was really cool. I just thought it was funny because I was just telling like Haley how like you genuinely, and I was always talking to you about before the studio. Like my mother knows about you because of me and stuff like that. I would just always like, you've always been my favorite artist like in the world throughout history. I've always resonated with your art and stuff. And so like to get a sunflower plant as a gift from you and to see it grow was like, it was somewhat cool. It was cooler. It was cooler than like a piece of painting, like in a weird way. Like although I would have whatever, but like it was something sort of special about that. I don't know, it's really cool, but yeah, it's growing.
Yeah, we've got all the seeds as well. We harvested the seeds from it, and we're going to replant those.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. When we get land, we're going to stay harvesting. We'll get land, and we're going to have the Courtney field of sunflowers eventually. So yeah.
Courtney, when you talk about kind of Merlin helping with your works and stuff and guiding you with that and the production, was there anything else that you learned from that energy? Like anything else?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, it was the most traumatic time in my life. All the time that I was working, I lost my business 4 times during that time of the Merlin energy. I mean, I lost everything, and so my life has been a continual phoenix growing, rebirthing all the time. But it's kind of it was good because it's like it's making you disconnect from material stuff, and my life became more of synchronicity. You get rid of all this stuff that hangs around you and you worry about, and stuff like that. And so my life has been one of synchronicity. One of the things that used to happen was that every time my tube of toothpaste ran out, I knew that I was going to move. So,
wow, that's so.
Being on Tara for 7 years is the longest I've stayed anywhere.
Wow.
Can you feel the energy there on Tara? Can you?
Yeah. Oh, well, absolutely. Yeah. When I first came to Ireland, it was 8 years ago, and there was I lived in West Cork, in West Cork, and I found this fairy tree in this forest in West Cork, and it just felt like Ireland wrapped itself around me. Because when I came to Ireland, I had no money. When I came to Tara, for the to have my cup of coffee, I had no money. I was broke. I'd gone through another kind of purging of, and ever since Ireland has looked after me,
really cool.
Yeah. So the whole point of the Tara Home Studio is it's a continual giving, rather than wanting to take anything. I don't earn any wages from this place.
Yeah.
All I do is I just keep pushing more money into creating something that obviously people feel very strongly about.
Yeah.
Even through the lockdowns and stuff, I've still had people come in just because they want to sit down in here for a little while and light a candle.
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of over in another corner painting away, and so I just leave people to it.
Yeah. I was just saying as well. I feel like you being there, which is funny as well because you're not even like from Ireland originally, but I feel like you being there and like you being there with your studio feels, I don't know, it might sound mad, I don't know how to explain it. It feels like, I was only saying that, I feel like you're somewhat protecting the Hill of Tara, and I know like there gets a lot of tourists and stuff like that, but for such a sort of well-known...
Well, I wouldn't, I don't know about that I'm protecting it, but I know I feel a great reverence.
Okay, yeah.
The fact that I'm actually here. and the universe and the goddess of Ireland has brought me here, and so I mean the thing is that in all the years that I was painting all these books, a lot of the designs of images were from Ireland, and in all that time I never ever came to Ireland, and so it wasn't until 8 years ago, well certainly 7 years ago, when I came to Tara, because I visited Newgrange on the same day, and it was like there was tears flooding down my face because I was touching stones that I'd painted like dozens of times,
So
and
like,
here I was actually holding the stone. So so it meant a great deal.
Like, would you have painted like the Leah Fall, like for example, as a stone, like before Ireland, and then to that painting you did it? I think it's titled Leah Fall. Like, was that painting done? Was that painting done before you got to touch the?
No. I've actually in one sense been more prolific, and my art has changed dramatically since I've been living here on Tara, and it's for me it seems very different from I was doing Celtic art, but for me now I'm doing kind of Celtic art, and it feels more from the spirit,
Yeah, that's really cool. And like when you're what's it called? Like when you're when you were like doing a painting, I sort of know the answer a bit, the answer to this, but I think it's an interesting point. Like, is like when you're painting, like, do you have an intention, like, in what you want the person to feel when they see the painting, or like, do you have an
No.
Okay.
No. I literally just start blank, and I just let the universe in its wisdom. I'll give you I'll explain to you something. When I was working with the Merlin energy, it would feel like I'd be sitting on my drawing board, and I'd have this pressure that would come over, right? And so together we would be together working on the designs, but there was always a conscious thing that I was actually holding the pen or the brush as it was working, and then I had this experience just before I came to Ireland. As I say, I had no money. I'd been living in my car, and I stayed at a friend's house one night, and I woke up in the very early morning, and there was no sign of Courtney in the room. All there was just an empty room, okay, and there was just awareness of a room, and ever since, my connection with Courtney is kind of like is separate from who I am, and so now when I'm working on the paintings, it's more of it's like the universe creating the art. If you understand what I mean.
100%.
You do,
Yeah, like
a lot of people say that when they're creating work, that they get in their own way and they need to just get out of their own way.
Yeah. And all the from my point of view, all the images are up there, and all we're doing is channeling down onto the paper.
Do you feel that
in the early days of Merlin, when I might have an interesting little bit of a design that I created, and if I tried to put it in the picture, then the painting would stop. I used to have these little blue lights you could touch the painting, so that they would kind of guide me how the painting was going. But as soon as I put my little bit into the picture, the lights would stop. But as soon as I took it out again, the lights would start again, and the paintings would. So it was almost, all the time. It's just, like the river flowing. You just keep on, you just flow with it, and you don't get stuck in the bank or anything, and it's just a continual movement all the time.
Do you feel, Courtney, as though you kind of exist now by this point in your life as sort of more of an awareness than as, I suppose, a personality or anything like that? Because you talk about that, you've said before in your writing about the constraints of Courtney, and, that you're not Courtney in part of what you do. And how do you feel your existence is now?
I mean, the thing is that the experience that I had, it wasn't Courtney that was having the experience. It was like it was much deeper than that. So, but now it's just a matter of that I'm kind of I'm not looking for anything for me. All it is I'm looking for what I can give, and that's kind of changed. All through my life. When you're I've been very lucky that as an artist, I've been working continually since 1984. But it was always money. Money was involved and stuff like that. Now that's kind of stepped away, and it's now more of what can I give all the time. And when you're doing that, then the universe, and especially Tara, the guy Michael who owns the coffee shop, says that Tara will always look after you.
That's really cool.
It's been really interesting that that every time I needed something, it's always come. And I just don't worry about money, about anything. All the time. All I'm doing all the time is seeing what I can do to help, to give, encourage, especially encouraging young people, artists and craftspeople and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because when I was starting off, I had nobody to kind of guide me, help me. But now I can use all the knowledge that I've gained over the years. I can now help support whatever I can.
That's really cool.
You have had some really unusual experiences in your life. When I was just looking through your website and extracts from books and things like that, even kind of back in the UK, I read about when you were living in a small town called Saffron Walden.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, that's a town I would have visited. I would know a little bit. I was quite amazed by what I read. Do you just want to share some of the things that went on there for you? Because there was a bit of a.
I mean, I was kind of a bit before my time. What you got to realise, I've been around a long time. Okay, so I was around before there was a kind of new age. Kind of, and so so I went to Saffron Walden. I just published the first Merlin book, and a friend of mine said you should go to Saffron Walden. It's got a beautiful maze there.
Yeah, it's
so I set myself up there, and I put together a new age centre in this, but it was a very kind of Christian church, Christian area, and although I was selling kind of astrology books and stuff like that, which you could easily find in W.H. Smith's on their high street, for some reason they didn't like me selling, and so there used to be a group of Christians standing outside the gallery and stopping people from going into the shop. And then one day there's this strange guy turned up, and I looked at him, and it was like he all of a sudden switched into a different gear. And I used to have a huge signboard outside, and he picked it up with one hand and he threw it through my the shop with the gallery window.
Jesus.
And smashed it to smithereens. And then he just kind of stood there. Then his eyes kind of changed again as if he came back. And he just got on his bike and started heading down the road.
That's so bizarre, It's not. It's not.
So
No.
But
yeah.
you experience kind of other, like, people would shout things at you in the street, and there was quite a lot
Oh
of
yeah,
disturbance around you.
yeah, yeah. It's just because you know, I was just, you know, like people didn't. There was nothing about homeopathy and
Mm.
Yeah.
aromatherapy
Yeah,
or
yeah.
anything. Everything like that was all ridiculed,
Yeah,
and
definitely,
so
yeah.
When was that? When did that happen? What
no,
year?
that must have been about 19. Well, it must have been 1984 when the
That's so
Merlin book
mad.
came out. But there was the odd kind of little health food shop, but there wasn't anything with all
Yeah.
the spiritual books and me, you know, painting, you know, talking about Merlin and stuff like that.
Yeah. Which is mad
Yeah,
because I mean, especially like there was so much that went on. The whole thing I was reading something before is just like the thing is if people don't understand it, and it actually still goes on. Like when something new happens and people don't understand it, the instant thing to do is call it Satan and point at it. Happened with like bands like Led Zeppelin, rock music. You know, you had rock music and
yeah,
just such a difference between rock music and sort of the the more like and your art, like, do you know what I mean? They're two different things, but yet, like, the same people were both calling both of them things Satan. It's like they're so far from each other. How can, I don't know. Yeah, the second something is away from the norm, it's like, oh, it must be Satan. Like, it's a bit bizarre.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you see some kind of value in that experience now? Because it must have been, you've gone there to start a business and to make a place your home, and all of that was probably a bit unexpected. I'm
Well,
sure
I
it
mean, the
was.
thing is that's in a sense that it's happening again right now with those who believe in vaccine, those who don't believe in vaccine, those who believe in coronavirus and stuff
yeah,
like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's happening. You know,
again,
all you can
yeah,
do is, you know, this is all for me. This is all about working on me, not worrying about
exactly.
what's going on with anybody
Oh my
else
god,
outside.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Everybody's too worried about everybody else, you know,
yeah.
and it's time to look after, you know.
Yourself, like, and but like it's like you've experienced it. Like there is sort of like I think everyone does. Like there's sort of that fear at looking at yourself first, like because there's a lot of when you haven't looked at yourself, there's a lot of work involved with sort of checking yourself and unraveling yourself, and it's much easier to just point the blame and be like, oh, we don't like that party or we don't like them or this, because like yeah, like it can be a scary thing to unravel yourself and to
Yeah.
to figure
I
some.
mean, one of the interesting things I've found is that quite a few people that are teachers
Mm,
have really fallen apart, and you're really seeing the people that actually when they're doing their teaching, they're teaching from their own experience and from their own heart, and those who
yeah.
are just uh, absorbing stuff from books and then passing it on, you know, that actually haven't actually kind of got any kind of a foundation, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like like the feeling around learning or education, like because of this, like education system, of course, sort of somewhat killed it, and there needs to be a sort of renewal of it because sort of education or the want or the longing to learn has sort of died down, and I think that is just like people know that education is still very important, like learning and growing is still very important. So it's like
Yeah,
that's why it's still there and there's a whole system around it, but no one's sort of like it's just existing for the sake of like checking a list, like, oh, we're humans, we need education, but like we're not actually. I think we need to really like find that sort of longing for learning, like
yeah,
people who wanted to
yeah,
learn when they traveled to learn, they did, like it was so
yeah,
different. Yeah.
I
yeah.
read on
I
your.
mean,
Okay.
it's been really lovely how some people have really kind of grown, you know, through this
Yeah,
last year, you know,
definitely.
and a lot of people are doing what you're doing, Zoom events and stuff like that,
Yeah,
stuff that they thought about doing, but they never had the time. That they're always too busy doing workshops and stuff, and
yeah,
so it's been, you know, that you know, so many people have really got a benefit, you know,
definitely.
out of it, you know.
I think the long term thing from this, and like I know it can be like it's like not really a good thing to say for people who are sort of still. It's not good. Sorry, it's not a good thing to hear for people who are still struggling and stuff. But I think inevitably there it will be sort of a good thing, because like for all those reasons of like, you know, like I don't want to go back to that like normal that was there before. It didn't seem very normal to me my whole life. But like there's something sort of a bit more normal about the idea of people like slowing down, and you know, and not that like it has to stay like this forever, that this is normal, but like as in it's a good opportunity for change. I really feel it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I hope,
I mean, for me, when I first came here 7 years ago, I gave I think 3 talks when I first arrived here, but I haven't given a talk
okay.
since in the gallery, and
Yeah,
it's only been this last year that I do regular Zoom to groups in America and stuff
that's
like that.
really cool.
It's really interesting, but I just never felt that I was I don't know. I never felt that I was ready, but now
Yeah,
all of a sudden, the universe, is saying, "Come on, Courtney," and it's not that I'm pushing. It's people are coming to me and
yeah,
asking me to do talks. So it's not like I feel like I'm pushing the thing. It's actually again the universe is synchronicity and it's kind of
yeah.
flowing.
Is that like a lot of American colleges and stuff getting onto you? Like, is it like sort of universities and stuff like that asking you?
No, not so much. It's small spiritual groups
Okay,
that
yeah, yeah,
kind of get together. But I mean, what they do is I have somebody that sets them up, and
yeah,
they kind of sit down with each of the people that are going to go, and they kind of vet them and kind of so it means that when I give the talks, I can go much kind of deeper
okay,
into
yeah,
the whole kind of awakening thing and kind of stuff like that.
yeah, yeah,
Courtney, I read a thing on your website. I really, really resonated with this because I would have done quite a lot of learning and reading and stuff in my life. And it said information is not knowledge and knowledge is not wisdom.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really profound and lovely. And could you just elaborate a little bit more on like what that means for you and just your understanding of it? Because I know what it means for me, but I just think it's a really lovely point for discussion.
Yeah, well, one of the consequences of the experience that I had before I came to Ireland was that when you kind of separate from the personality, you start losing all your belief system. Okay,
Yeah.
and
yeah,
so that so it's like every time you think that you're getting to a point of understanding, it suddenly falls away and there's another one behind, and so I don't um I don't I can say, I don't believe, anything. I just kind of go with the moment,
yeah,
but I actually really really do um, feel that way, that
yeah,
it's not just kind of words coming out, and it's just you know people are so busy that they never experience the moment all the time,
yeah,
and the moment can be absolutely magical, you know and most people are kind of they're going down to the coffee shop and they're so focused on the coffee shop that they're missing the magic all the time. Magic's going on all the time,
yeah,
and everybody kind of misses it because they're so focused. And so, but if you go in from a point of view that of being, very open, you start to see this, and each time you see something like that, you can just feel it resonate, in the
Yeah.
heart,
yeah. That's really
because it's
cool.
kind of this magic, yeah, magic, yeah.
And it is an absolute like opportunity to do that at all times, which is hard. When I was younger, this is what happened for me to sort of realize that I was like 15, and where I'm from, like I used to walk the same road, like every day, these 3 times, whether it was school, going to the shop, everything. And then one day I was just so bored of it, and I'd reached this same point where there was no more turns. So this was the part I walked the most, sort of like the last stretch. And I remember like sort of I was like, oh, this is so boring. I can't do this walk ever again. This is so boring. I've seen these trees, I've seen these walls. And all of a sudden I thought, and I was just like, that's when it came to me out of nowhere. I can't explain what, like, because I wouldn't have really, at that age, thought too much about this stuff until this point. It was sort of a singularity for change in mindset. But I remember just being like, all of a sudden, wait, I have not walked this road. Because when you take into, which may sound mad or whatever, but like when you take into account like date and the sort of the I've walked that road in the dimensions of sort of the third dimension, like is in like the walls, the roads, the sky. I've walked that road, but when I added in the factor of time, like as in right here, right now, I have not walked this road before. Which now, when I get really bored of something or I'm in a new room, like I'll just stop and I'll stare at the walls for a minute and sort of I can sort of transform like the feeling of it rather than a room I've been in 1,000 times to here right now and like a new moment, and I can see that magic you're talking about. And I don't know if it's a similar thing, but yeah, there is. I think it is like a thing of like the busyness, like and sort of like that. And people think that they're living the same day over and over, but they're never really. They've sort of just not looked at the day deep enough to see that they're not.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, if you went to like some exotic place, and you'd be so aware of all the colour and everything,
Yeah.
But then when you come home and it's just kind of, it's home, you kind of, you miss,
It's like you live the day, but you don't experience it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the
Well,
wisdom comes
most
from.
people aren't living the day, are they? I mean, they're either living what happened yesterday or what they want.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of bypassing them.
Yeah.
And when you get to my age, you kind of you start to see life kind of in an entirely new kind of way.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I think when you try and draw something from memory, you realize how little you look at things.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Even draw your own car from memory, you won't really remember. Is there a rubber on top of the door, or is there not? Or
Yeah, that's so true.
You see so little, you just kind of make up most of it in your mind. What's actually there?
That's so true, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first positive reaction you got for your artwork, like as a kid or whatever?
First positive. Well, I suppose it was my wife, really. My wife at the time. I used to do a kind of like William Blake dark stuff,
Wow.
and I put a Celtic border around one of the pictures, and she just loved the Celtic border.
Wow.
And it inspired me to, for the time, to remove the dark stuff and concentrate more. So I suppose, so that would be the kind of the start of
And
it.
when she pointed out how cool it was or how good it was, did you kind of go, actually, yeah, she's right? You know what I mean? Did it resonate with you?
Yeah. And the thing is that it's like then synchronicity starts at play, and what happened was that I did the first Merlin book, which I self-published, and I packed up my job, and I would go into London every day with a rucksack full of books and go from one bookshop to another, flogging these books. And it just so happened that somebody from Dover Publications, there was a book called Celtic Methods of Construction, and it was a really big seller for Dover. And this guy moved from Dover to another publisher, and he was saying to the people in the office, you really need to get a Celtic book. And it just so happened that the commissioning agent went into a bookshop and found the Merlin book.
Wow.
Right? So he took it back. But then when he went home, his daughter come through the door with one of my pictures that she'd been colouring at school. I mean, synchronicity, mate. When it starts, it's freaking magic, absolutely magic.
And
But
like,
most people see they would be blocked. They would block the synchronicity because it's like it becomes scary because you've lost. You've got no control in a sense. It's moving. It's this river. It's a continual kind of river.
And it all started with a good woman, Courtney, with your good wife at the time.
Yeah. I mean, she's quite a famous woodworker now in America. But
Yeah, like what you were saying, the synchronicities, like it's somewhat. I remember, like when I first started experiencing that stuff, it was somewhat like frightening at first. Like I hadn't fully ever like sort of looked at myself and was very much working from a place that was like built to sort of, I don't know, to sort of make myself feel better and like less insecure and stuff. So it wasn't really a true place. But at that time, I did start experiencing synchronicities and stuff. And there's a lot to handle, like for someone who hadn't really found himself. I didn't have any idea who they were, and there was like this weird sense of like, at first it's like, oh, that's cool, like it's sort of like a thing to talk about. But like as you said, when you choose to go down that river, for me at first it was like, okay, it was cool. Now it's getting a bit weird, But then you sort of do just, for me anyway, I did sort of just get past that point of like it being weird to being like. And then sort of giving into the weirdness of it, and then all of a sudden it wasn't so weird anymore, and like life's just easier, and there is like, and then I really understood what it meant by the term flow, and so I thought it was interesting.
Your mum had some psychic ability, didn't she? Because I'm quite interested in sort of you seem to have tuned in really well in terms of connections and kind of source and universal energy and all of that. But you said before that your mum had some psychic capacity.
Yeah. I mean, the main one was that she come home from work one day, and my father had died, and she came home from work one day, and there was somebody sitting in a chair in the living room, and so she went up to this person, and it was Lord Louis Mountbatten.
Wow.
Now he died. He'd been blown up. By the, and so but he decided that he wanted her to write his biography, right?
Wow.
And so she went through all this time where she had to buy the right pen, and so she had all these pens that
he looks like he was a fussy bugger.
Because what it had to be was that the handwriting had to be his handwriting. Wow. And so she spent months and months. She had suitcases full of exercise books with just and it was like one sentence over and over and over and over and over again. And she used to have these fights with him, right? She likes EastEnders and Coronation Street. And so she would have this battle with him because he wanted her to be writing now that she was home from work, and she wanted to watch. And so they used to, have these battles, and then they would work out. She could watch half of Coronation.
That's so funny. That's cool.
That would be, my mum would be the very same. You see, you wouldn't get anything out of her until she's watched EastEnders.
Yeah.
Did she write the book? Did she?
Well, no. I mean, he wasn't. Although he was a diplomat, he wasn't very diplomatic. And she said to him one day, "Why have you chosen me?" And the reason was that she wasn't political. She wasn't very good with history, and so she was like a clear channel. But he didn't kind of explain it that way. And as far as my mum was concerned, it was because she was thick. Right?
Wow.
And so she did no more than snap all the pens in half and tore all the books up, and everything went in the bin. So he never ever got.
She sent him on his way, like.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
The interesting thing was that nobody else knew about this. And when it was her funeral, my sister had written all this stuff about my mum, you know, and it was just like history. And so I stood up there and started telling them about this Mountbatten story, and they were all aghast, and yeah.
That's so cool.
Had
Wow.
you been in the house at the same time? Like, were you living with your mum at the time after your dad died?
No. I was living in Bridport in Dorset.
Okay.
No, yeah, but I used to kind of travel back and forth.
And so she'd shared it with you. She'd told you about it.
Yeah.
God, I think that's hilarious.
That is such a cool story. That's
Yeah,
one of the
it is.
coolest stories I've ever heard. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
With like your experience now with Merlin, kind of like, where are you at with that Merlin energy now? Because it's come and gone from your life, and it's been more prolific.
Yeah, I went through about 4 years of denying Merlin because I had this experience in the room, and so Courtney was in a totally kind of different space.
Yeah.
But gradually, it's interesting that gradually, this last couple of years, it's kind of like, I haven't quite figured it out yet, but it's like a jigsaw, and all these bits are forming into place, and I haven't don't quite understand how that is, but yeah.
Wait, do you know with the with the Merlin energy, like,
The thing
sorry?
is that I'm in myself, you know, I'm relaxed, and I kind of in the flow and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So however it's going to
Play
fall,
out, yeah.
fall down, you know, yeah, I'm just kind of open to that. Yeah.
With the Merlin energy, like working with, like, was it sort of a direct dialogue, like your mum's experience with Lord, or that, or was it sort of more of a feeling?
Sorry, I didn't quite get that.
Like, so like with the Merlin energy, like you working with the Merlin energy, was it a similar case like with your mum, like sort of where there was more of like a direct sort of dialogue, or was it sort of more feeling?
Oh no. I mean, the weirdest thing is that so many people supposedly have Merlin talking to them, you know.
Okay.
But in all the years we worked together, Merlin, as far as I know, I mean, never ever said anything to me.
Yeah.
But it was more of a kind of like a inner kind of conversation and stuff that was kind of going on. I was, you know, rather than words being spoken, I was kind of learning, you know, and experiencing, you know, through what was kind of going on.
Yeah, that makes more sense. That's
Do you? Is it a different experience when you're writing the books, or because obviously that's more kind of verbal, and how does that come through, or what's your process with the writing by comparison?
Yeah, I mean, I guess with the when I'm doing the writing, I would imagine that that was more like a Merlin kind of, you know, I see everything as energy, and like when I had the experience in the hospital and I saw 8 different Merlins, and so I see energy rather as being archangel this and this and that. I see it as kind of different kind of energy kind of patterns, and when I'm writing, this one pattern comes in that I kind of sense is Merlin, and you know, and you know, I have no idea. I do loads of posts on Facebook and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I do those literally in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It just flows, and I try not to put Courtney into it. I just let
Yeah.
the post expand or whatever it wants to do. And a lot of people kind of comment to me, they really enjoy them, and so
That's really
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Is there any Courtney in these works? Like, do you just once Courtney comes in, do you stop working? Is that what happens?
Courtney's not here anyway.
Okay.
All right.
Fair
So,
enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
although there's this, and there is a personality, but um, the what Courtney is kind of is kind of flowing through
Okay.
this. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the thing is that for for most people, they go through their life and they're kind of buying all these spiritual books, and they're being told to go up mountains because if they go up a mountain, they might have this experience and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And but when actually the kind of awakening happens, when the beloved, when God kind of wakes up, that's what it's all about
Yeah.
inside. Then the person who's been doing all the seeking and stuff, they don't know, they lose out. They actually lose out. So although you're kind of on a spiritual quest, when it comes to the point that you actually get to that point, then you don't actually gain. You actually lose. You die.
Yeah. It's so it's definitely like.
I mean, some of the most wonderful experiences I've had. I once I was coming out of a Boots the Chemist in Dorset, and all of a sudden this shower of sparkling energy. It was like a waterfall of sparkling energy just flooded down, and I started bursting into tears because the love in that thing was so. But this was in the high street, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Outside Boots, yeah.
In Dorset.
And so, what I tried to do was I tried to pull myself together, and this voice said, "Just let it go."
Yeah.
And it became so powerful that I was just about to go down on my knees in the middle of the street because the love that was coming from this was so intense.
Yeah.
And that was like, it just come out of the blue.
It's terrible timing as well. To doing that outside Boots and Dorset.
Well, not terrible timing. It's kind of who are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you this Courtney Davis that's a bit embarrassed, or are you
Exactly.
this spirit inside that is just connected with the whole?
Yeah.
It's actually a lot of stuff that I'm still like, I don't know, figuring out stuff for myself, and maybe I've started to learn that it is like about stop trying to figure it out or whatever. But I still have these parts of me that sort of part of the human self, like whatever, like insecurities or that sense of like ego that's trying to keep control or whatever. I've had like this part that gets in my way where like I'll pass someone on the street and like this thing inside me will be like, go up and say hello to them, a stranger, and then part of me is just like, oh no, they'll reject you, they won't say hello back, they'll think you're weird. And I'm trying, so I'll hear, it's like to let go of that, like to hear that let go, that's a beautiful thing, because I feel like I've blocked it out before, and I know it'll happen eventually, and because it stops.
I mean, that's the great thing about when you get to my age. I'm going to be 75 this year, right? And so when you get to my age, you're allowed to do all these things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's so true.
Age has some
You're
benefits.
just going to wait a few more years and you'll be fine.
That's so true. Yeah.
I mean, it's great. Most of the people that come in here, they're coming for a hug.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful.
That's so cool. Like
You spent a bit of time in the States, am I right?
Yeah.
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 Which part were you in?
Yeah, I used to do, well, it was mainly on the East Coast
all right.
of so it was New York, Boston, Chicago. It was the Irish,
Yeah.
connection. I used to do a lot of book signings and events and stuff there, and talks and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh,
But
wow.
then all those people thought I was Irish. You know, I used to say to them that, no, I'm not from Ireland, and they said, well, you obviously live in Ireland. No, I've never lived in Ireland.
Because
You know, I've
yeah,
never even been to Ireland. But I gave up in the end, and I used to say, yeah, I'm an Irish artist.
yeah, that's funny. That's,
Yeah, yeah.
I when we went into your shop, like, cause I've always been obsessed with your artwork for years, and I always thought you were just like this Irish artist living in the Hill of Tara since maybe you were a kid or something. And then we went in there and you spoke, cause I'd never heard any interviews of you before, and then you spoke, and I was like, what the hell? And then Haley recognized she recognized your accent, like, and it was mad.
I was like, he's from England. He's from England. That's an English accent.
It was really cool.
Yeah, I thought it was very exciting.
For a lot of people, I do a lot of stuff for women's groups and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
some of them obviously think that I'm a woman, you know, because of the name Courtney.
Yeah, because that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, so you're living incognito. You're actually an English woman living on the Hill of Tara.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've had some really interesting conversations with people at trade shows, you know, who say how much they enjoy Courtney Davis and stuff like that. You know, I know her quite well and all this kind of stuff.
I know her very well.
That's brilliant.
That's funny.
Do you have a kind of favourite piece of work or a work that's been most significant to you along the way, or does that evolve and change as your life goes on?
Yeah. Well, I guess I've got a painting called Tara, right? Which I started to paint when I was living in West Cork, and for some reason it stopped. And then I got invited to the exhibition here, and as soon as I came in here and for the exhibition, I started painting picture again.
Yeah.
And as I said, you know, I had no money when I came to Ireland, and this Arab sheikh came in, saw the painting, and bought it, and it was 4,000 euro.
Wow.
And so it kind of, and then shortly after that, that I had a painting of Ipona, and a French lady came in, and she bought that 3,000, and so so what it did was it stabilized me, you know, for being here, you know, but it also gave me the money to create Tara Studio, you know.
That's really cool. Wow.
So again, synchronicity, you know,
Yeah.
you just never know at any point, any time, it could all change, you know, and it could, you know, tomorrow might come along and something might happen, and maybe I have to move on. Who knows, you know?
Yeah.
But it's kind of, you know, I've been married 4 times, right? So I'm kind of, you know, used to change.
Yeah. That's funny.
At least I get more time with my toothpaste, but
Yeah.
That's funny. I just like a lot of what you were saying during this. I just started listening to kind of like one of the truth teachers from back in the 40s and stuff, Florence Scovel Shinn.
Right.
And there's a lot of talk in that about kind of synchronicity and timing of everything. So it's really weird kind of sitting talking to you here today. It's just kind of reinforcing that.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you start to see life in a much more kind of playful way.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than something to fear, but accepting there's going to be dark times and good times, because it's balance, you know.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's kind of, you know, clutching their pensions and stuff like that, you know, and rather than just kind of just letting go and just
The more you let go, the easier it becomes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you're just opening yourself up to
possibility. And how things can change. Yeah, because if you have your gaze kind of fixed on one particular endpoint or one particular outcome, you're going to miss out on what else could jump in your path and be right for you.
Definitely. Yeah.
Does your art change depending on what country you're in?
Well, it's certainly changed since I've been here.
Yeah.
I've kind of I've done a lot of kind of goddess paintings here. I mean, I find it really interesting that 90% of the people that come into the gallery are women, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I'm really learning. For most of my life, I've gone from one relationship to another, but since I come to Tara, I've not been in a relationship, but I got this relationship with all these ladies that are
Yeah.
coming through, and it's been really interesting watching Courtney changing, you know,
Yeah.
because of this. You know, when I first came to Tara, I wasn't as kind of outgoing as I am now, but it's kind of
Yeah.
like, I'm more in my feminine kind of self
Yeah.
So
now.
those women influence your art, yeah? Would they
Uh,
influence you?
Or with the energy, feminine
well,
energy.
yeah, I mean, they're all goddesses, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, they do obviously affect my art, yeah. And because I'm getting, for many years when I was doing the books, there was no Facebook or YouTube or
Mm.
anything like that, and so I was pushing these books out, but I was getting no feedback.
Yeah.
Um, and so, but here, I'm getting constant feedback, and I'm getting people that come in who think I'm some kind of mythical character because they've been buying my books for years and years, and all of a sudden they come into this gallery, and here I am.
Yeah, that's how I actually felt the same when I first met
Yeah,
you.
it's such
Yeah,
a beautiful space. Like that is
yeah,
such a sense of peace and calm
Yeah.
and tranquility.
yeah,
I
yeah,
sat in a chair looking at the space that's just behind you there for, I don't know, 15 minutes, 20 minutes or so. Just,
The life spirit shine.
yeah,
That
yeah.
we should
yeah,
talk about this piece behind you as well, just for people like
It's
that's
beautiful.
it's
It's absolutely
the
beautiful.
life spirit shine is just like I don't know. I don't think there's anything I've ever seen. Like you were talking about, remember you were saying about like going to exotic places and stuff, or like even seeing the Grand Canyon, anything like that. Nothing has had an effect on me than seeing like your piece, the life spirit shine behind you in person. Like I don't know. I can't explain it. It's mesmerizing. I'd stay there for eternity staring at it, like, and
Yeah.
happily too.
yeah,
It's beautiful,
yeah,
like.
yeah.
Um,
It's just, it's a thrill for me, that people are kind of tuning into the paintings and
yeah.
getting a lot from them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really cool. I definitely felt the sort of the feminine aspect in the place as well. There's probably an element of like attracting the feminine as well, but I don't think there's probably like the old her Irish male ego probably can't handle like sort of a place like that
yeah,
because you really
yeah.
feel
Well,
yourself when
the
you're in there.
same. It's the same in England, and it
Yeah.
was the same in America when I used to do
Okay.
tours. It was mainly women that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when I first came to Tara, I had the exhibition, and the men used to stand outside while the women came in.
That's so mad. Like as if you're going shopping or something. Like it's so bizarre.
Is
like.
that how come you were married 4 times, Courtney? 'Cause
Sorry?
is that how come you were married 4 times? Because there were so many women coming in and out.
Attractive.
Well, no, I mean, the thing is, what it is that people they were attracted to me because
Yeah.
of who I was, what I was doing.
Yeah.
But the reality is that I come into the gallery, into the studio 8 o'clock in the morning, and I don't leave till about 10 o'clock at night
Yeah.
because I had to do like a painting a day.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
they suddenly realised that there's this like other woman that they hadn't.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So
funny.
I always warned. I used to warn them, but they just said, no, it'll be all right. But yeah, eventually,
Yeah.
they
Were,
got better.
were you ever influenced by other artists?
I try not to view other artists. I hate it when people send me images and stuff like that. I guess what's his name? The Irish artist.
Jim
Jim
Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick, probably.
No. What's his name? he did all the stained glass.
Yeah,
Harry Clark. Harry Clark.
Harry Clark.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess some of the old illustrators, I kind of, but anything like Jim Fitzpatrick or anything like that, I really try not to.
Yeah.
The trouble is, I'm doing a painting a day, right? So, what I don't do it now, but when I was, you don't know what kind of, gets hooked into the old, thing,
Yeah.
and then you start thinking, oh, that's an interesting thing, and then you suddenly get somebody saying, it happened to me once, and I got so much stick from the other Celtic artists that they thought that I'd copied.
But
That
yeah.
can happen without you even seeing stuff.
Definitely,
People channel the same things at the exact same time.
That's true as well.
Yeah. So I just kind of shut myself away and just get on with my own thing.
I'm going to finish up in a few minutes. Can I just ask you one question? Do you think people take life too serious?
I think they take it very, very seriously, and I think if they were a bit more playful in their life and taking chances. You were saying about you felt somebody, you should be hugging them or something like that, or maybe talking to them. If people did a lot more of that, especially now. I mean, there's so much fear and stuff kind of going on,
it's definitely it's the right time to be playful.
And these moments are so kind of short sometimes. There's these chances of talking to somebody, and again, synchronicity. You have no idea what door's going to open when you start talking to that person. But we're blocking, because of fear. We're blocking those doors all the time.
Why are we afraid?
Huh?
Why are we afraid, do you think? Why are we so afraid?
We're afraid of death, aren't we? Death and dying, That's what it's about. And we're all gonna, at some point, blinking die, And I'd hate to be lying on my bed thinking, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that. As far as I'm concerned, I do as much as I can, so that there's no regrets, at the end of the day.
That's really cool. That's lovely.
You never know how short your life span is, from moment to moment, and it's just worth, especially with what's going on. Don't put your life to one side. Use it.
That's really cool. Thanks for coming on. I definitely going to take on your advice as well. I just all stuff that I don't know. It's ironically very in sync with like stuff that I'm sort of feeling and going through, like figuring out as well. So it's really cool to hear that from someone who's also like my favorite artist of all time, which is mental, like really. And it's really cool. And thanks a million for coming on, Courtney. I really appreciate it. It was a really good conversation.
You're welcome. God bless you all.
Thanks a million, Courtney. Thank you.
Thanks, Courtney.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye.
Bye, Courtney. So thanks to thanks